Just realized this is the third video now that I'm recording in this shirt. I feel like after like 2, I need to change my shirt. I try to do that when I'm recording like a bunch at one time. But it's like, do you guys care? I don't think you really care. You're only seeing like this much of me anyway. Like, does it really matter what color this is? Anyway, I want to talk about restaurants going vegan. So first, I want to talk about this case in Hong Kong. It's this restaurant called Hemingway's that's run by Gary Stokes, who is vegan. And he changed the restaurant, changed all of the foods to vegan without telling anyone, without telling patrons, without like announcing it or putting it on the menu or anything. He says that many people didn't even notice that his like chili, it's the popular chili there, Rude Boy chili, that people didn't even notice that it wasn't vegan until 6 months later. You're not going to get people to change if you ram it down their throat. So my approach was just to offer it to people and also show them vegan food doesn't have to be expensive quinoa salads. It can just be comfort food, normal everyday food, chili and pasta and pizzas and burgers. He says that business has pretty much stayed the same, that yeah, some people have left, but a lot of people have stuck around, and the people who've left have been kind of replaced by vegans. And he said like there are a bunch of vegans in the area that he didn't know, like that he didn't even know they existed, right? And I'm sure they were really happy that, oh my god, now there's this whole establishment that they can eat at. So yeah, that's a really interesting case. I can't imagine many people doing it that way, just like changing the menu entirely. Obviously, the smart thing that he did was not change the menu. And I think the mock meats that he uses are Beyond Meat, which are some of the better like mock meats, right? He didn't actually change the menu in terms of the foods that are being offered. He just veganized it, which I think is probably the way to go, right? Now, I'm sure some people would argue that like, wait, that's like false advertising, right? People think they are getting meat-based products, animal-based products, and you're actually giving them like soy and wheat and pea protein-based products, right? Like, isn't that false advertising? Isn't that wrong? And that's honestly kind of the feeling that I had when I first read it. I was like, oh, that seems like not a cool thing to do. But honestly, in the restaurant world, I mean, people change recipes all the time, and I don't think they ever announce that, oh, like this is different, or now, you know, we use lemon juice in this instead of this, or now this actually has, I don't know, wheat because we make a roux or something like that. Like, I don't think restaurants are doing that. I've been to a few where they have actually allergens listed, like right on the menu. But typically, if you want to know what's in it, like you have to ask them, and they will hopefully bring you like a big binder with ingredients and stuff and allergen information. That's like just kind of how it works, which again does suck if you have an actual allergy to something, because the reality is that even if you've eaten somewhere 100 times, they could change the recipe at any point and add something that, you know, you aren't supposed to eat. So yeah, I get where people are coming from if they do feel like, oh, it's really not cool that he, you know, changed these recipes. But I think that's just kind of if you're going to really complain about that, then you need to complain about the restaurant industry on the whole, right? Unfortunately, the onus is on people with allergies and dietary restrictions to make sure that their food is something that they can eat. Anyway, moving on, Katrina Fox for Forbes writes about this survey that was done by Veganizer that showed veganizing restaurants can be pretty successful, actually. So they surveyed 17 restaurants. They contacted 22, but got responses from 17. And all of them reported an increase in sales and social media following. And not all of them, but many of them saw lower food costs as well. I would be really interested to see like actually a comprehensive like profit breakdown, but I couldn't find that anywhere, unfortunately, which is really not that surprising. Point is, that's all pretty cool. But unfortunately, not all examples are as positive. The founder of Veganizer, Kiki Adami, she announced that she was switching a restaurant she was managing to plant-based, a restaurant that was popular with paleo eaters. So unsurprisingly, they got a lot of bad press. A lot of people were upset. They left negative reviews, you know, on Yelp. The restaurant ended up losing money for 6 months. Then apparently they started making more money than they had made in 5 years. But unfortunately, investors were still unhappy and they closed the restaurant. I would have done so much differently, admits Adami. I would have been quiet about the transition. No restaurant had pulled this kind of stunt before, so there was no proof of concept that it would be a success. I was too emotional about the transition and wanted it to happen overnight, which was not a good idea. My passion got in the way of my business sense. Also, at the time, I was a raw foodist, and I not only wanted Gus to be vegan, but I wanted it to be mostly raw. That was a big mistake. We were already turning the wheel 180, going raw was too much. I quickly realized this, and our final menu, which was very successful, had items like seitan scallopini, raviolis, and burgers. People want foods that they recognize. So again, the same thing with the Hong Kong restaurant with Hemingway's, especially if you're going to change a restaurant, right? If you're changing a restaurant from non-vegan to vegan, keep it as close to the original as possible, right? And to offer foods that like most people want, right? Obviously, it depends on the location to some extent, which brings me to another example, an example that is rather similar to this last one. This happened in Portland, this very popular Portland pizzeria and bakery. They just all of a sudden switched to a plant-based, gluten-free establishment. So people literally walking in to get their like favorite pizza or baked good or whatever, instead found $10 smoothie bowls and magic water. If you look in the menu, it looks like a parody. It looks like a parody of vegan food or like just healthy eating or like Portland, right? Just a parody of like Portland in general. Like I'm convinced that it's a Portlandia skit. This is all just a bit for Portlandia, even though it's done now, pretty sure. Point is, many people were pretty pissed off, like really, really upset that one of their favorite restaurants was gone. You can see a lot of the reviews on the old Yelp page. The restaurant rebranded from Roman Candle to Holiday. So if you go to the Roman Candle page, you can see a lot of negative reviews from people who are just really upset. A personal favorite: this place used to be a stake in the ground, a place where authentic and delicious Italian food could be shared. That stake has now fallen, pummeled by the wave of avocado toast apathy seizing the nation. There are some positive reviews from fans of Roman Candle, someone even saying that they love the new eatery, Holiday, that they love it even more than Roman Candle. And there are several positive reviews on the Holiday page. Again, this happened really recently. This happened just within like the last few months. And there are already a fair number of reviews, most of them positive, if you go to the Holiday Yelp page. So I guess a fair number of people really are willing to pay like $10 for smoothie bowls and avocado toast. Maybe it's the most amazing avocado toast ever, but no. Not for me. Anyway, like I said, this has only been around for a few months, so who knows how well it's actually doing, how well it will do. The possible difference here is that the owner was the founder of Stumptown Coffee, and he sold that for probably a fair amount of money, so I wouldn't be surprised if he has more resources than like the average person starting a restaurant, right? So it's possible that even if Holiday isn't doing particularly well, he could keep it afloat longer than most people. So yeah, I would guess that this kind of tactic of just totally rebranding your restaurant, totally changing it to something completely different with all new menu items, whether you're going vegan or not, right? Probably not the best thing to do. I mean, obviously, if your restaurant is struggling and it's like, okay, we've got to change things, we're losing a lot of money, that makes more sense. But if your restaurant's doing really well, that might be a little bit risky, right? I think it makes a lot more sense to, number one, do like what, again, Gary Stokes in Hong Kong did, keeping the items as close to the original as possible, and also probably making gradual changes, right? So again, I think Gary just immediately changed it to vegan. Probably a little less risky to take more of a gradual approach where you're changing a few items here, a few items there. But again, it also depends on the location, right? Like, a place like Holiday might do well somewhere like Portland, right? We've got a lot of places and vegan places that sell kind of food like that, but I don't think you'd get very far with $10 avocado toast in like Bucksnort, Tennessee. Also, I think it's easy for us, if you're vegan watching this or vegetarian or whatever, I think it's easy to be like, ha ha ha, like laughing at the Roman Candle people, like, you lost your favorite place and now it's vegan, like, that's a win for us. But I mean, look, I can imagine like my favorite place here switching to like raw vegan. Oh my god, I would be so upset. I'd probably be pretty pissed off, unless it was just amazing. I mean, look, I've had some really delicious raw food, but I've also had really terrible raw food, and most of the raw restaurants I've eaten at have been terrible. I mean, most of the raw food in general that I've eaten has not been good, other than just like fresh, delicious, southern summer peaches. Oh yeah, perfect. But like in terms of actually making like a raw pasta dish, like no. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Subscribe. That's pretty neat. Support the channel. Patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. And I will have a new video very soon. Pummeled by the wave of avocado toast apathy seizing the nation. I don't know what that means. I don't know what avocado toast apathy means, but I just love it. That is just the best phrase. And really, if you think about it, it makes no sense. Like, apathy is not caring, right? But if you're eating avocado toast, especially if you're paying $10 for it, whatever. Oh God, it's crazy. You probably care, right? You probably care, I don't know, about your health. Maybe you're trying to eat healthier. Maybe you're vegan. You care about like animals, the environment, your health, whatever. I feel like that's the opposite of apathy. But I mean, earlier he says something about hipsters. So I guess hipsters are associated with being apathetic. But again, aren't they also associated with like healthy eating and veganism? Like, what the fuck is a hipster? I guess that's my question. I don't know what a hipster is. I know what one looks like, I guess. It's like beard. Well, guys, I don't know what a girl hipster looks like. I guess a guy is like beard, plaid shirt, tight pants, fixie bike. That's what I know. Maybe that's the definition of hipster, is that there is no definition of hipster.